Reeds, how's it going over there?
Hey, W, CW, how are you doing?
All right, welcome everybody to Rock and Roll Confessional. I'm CW West.
I'm Rita Wild.
Okay, so I have to geek out because this was one of the coolest interviews because it's Fee Waybill of the Tubes, and I love the Tubes. I was thinking about this. I kind of grew up in San Francisco, where they're from, and I kind of feel like they were like my version of like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's like glam rock band, and they were always playing, and I could always go see them, and they were freaking crazy as hell. And I just remember having such good time seeing them, and it brought back such great memories. So to do this interview, it was really fun for me. And I have to apologize because as I was editing, I noticed I kind of pigged out on the questions. So I apologize, Reeds.
No, I think it's perfect. I mean, it's, as I told him at the one point, I don't know if you kept that in the show or not, but there's no one who's a bigger fan of the Tubes than you. So
thank you. And I did not keep it in there because there were such visuals as in that part of the interview that nobody would understand it. So I had to take it out of there. And I didn't want to look too geeky because I'm kind of geeky. But I have to say, speaking of geeky, there was a really cool thing. I have a lot of things that I've done with them over the years, but I didn't bring this up during the interview again because I didn't want to overpower Fee with my coolness. But there was a time when I worked at KLOS, and it was one of the first promotions or something I did, and I needed to escort a winner backstage at the Tubes when they played Universal Amphitheater, which was probably 83 or 84. And the winner got to go on stage and be a punk during White Punks on Dope. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Well, when we got back there, whoever it was, the roadie or something, gave me a costume and said, you're going up also. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
And because it was such a big show, nowadays they don't play as big as shows, but it was Universal, which was like 6,000 people or something. And so they start playing White Punks on Dope, and they put us up on these stairs, and I think I had like a trench coat, like some kind of pervert or something, and we're just dancing, and then we all fall down at the end, kind of like during Rocky Horror, during the Time Warp or something. And it was just one of those cool, amazing moments in my life. It was just like I felt so, it's like if you got to go dance during Dancing in the Dark with Springsteen or something,
No, I don't, because I never had that experience. I can only imagine it.
Call Courtney Cox. She'll tell you all about it.
Yeah.
You saw them, though, a couple times, right?
I saw them, several times. And I one time, I think it was somewhere in Riverside. I don't know if it was at UCR or some other venue out there. But I had a view from the backstage, off from the side, and I could see Fee whenever he was changing. It was like, is he wearing a sock? Is that what that is?
So you got to see Fee in the buff.
I shouldn't say that because I'll embarrass him.
No, I don't think anything embarrasses Fee.
Yeah, no. Yeah, not at all.
So,
such a great guy.
Anyway, so this episode, we're speaking with the Tubes lead singer, Fee Waybill. The Tubes started in San Francisco in the 70s, and they had such hits as Don't Touch Me There, Sushi Girl, She's a Beauty, Mondo, Bondage, and of course the iconic White Punks on Dope.
Fee has a new album, Fee Waybill Rides Again, which is produced by a longtime friend, Richard MARX. Fee talks about that along with what he found hidden in his mom's house. He also talks about the ghost town he used to live in, how his alter ego Quay Lewd was created, the Rocky Horror Show, Tim Curry, and what's the worst event that ever happened on stage. You'll hear that answer soon enough.
Yeah. So, without further ado, here's our interview with lead singer of the Tubes, Fee Waybill.
Yeah, it's 2020. What are you going to do?
What has gone right so far? Nothing.
Today will be a new day, Fee.
We're all sitting here inhaling smoke.
Oh, God, yeah. It's horrible.
It is horrendous.
So this is for what? Your podcast?
Yeah, it's called Rock and Roll Confessional, and it's just about the music industry. And Fee, you've got a brand new album, which is, I got to say, really amazing. Not that I was shocked, but I was shocked. It sounded really good. And I miss hearing something new from you. And this was a beautiful piece you did. So congratulations. It's called Fee Rides Again.
Fee Waybill Rides
Again.
Again.
Fee Waybill Rides Again.
Well, the reason it sounds so great is because of Richard. I mean, he's a brilliant. I mean, not only is he my best friend and major writing partner, but he's an incredible producer. And it's like, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but he gets vocals out of me that nobody has ever gotten before. He somehow knows what I can do and what I can't do. And he knows when I've done it and to stop and go, okay, that's it, go on. So that's why, you know, I'm so proud of it. That's why I think it sounds so great. And we started this record in 2013, back when he lived in Chicago at his studio back there. And we just wrote one song. We wrote Faker, the first song on the record. And we thought, wow, this is great. It's what a change of pace to have an actual guitar solo driven kind of album. It's been so long. So we continued, and we did 4 back then, 6 or 7 years ago. And then it got, everything kind of changed, and, you know, the world changed. We went on tour. He went on tour. It wasn't until last year that we said, we got 4 songs in the can. Let's finish. And so we started and went around trying to find songs and write new songs and do vocals and track new stuff. And we finally finished in February. Thank God.
Before the pandemic.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you imagine trying to have gotten this done now?
No.
I mean, or do vocals with a mask on? No.
Oh, Richard could fix it. And by the way, Richard is Richard Marx, who's the producer of the album and also one of your, I think, very best friends, right?
My best friend, co-writer. I mean, Richard and I wrote all the music and lyric together, except for one song. The one song, Still You on the Inside, Richard wrote with Chad Kroeger from Nickelback. They wrote it for Chris Daughtry, and he didn't want to do the song. And Richard sent me the song, and he went, well, he doesn't want to do it. And I went, what? Are you kidding me? That's great. I love that song.
It's a great song.
I want to do it. That's really the only song on the record that we didn't write. And actually, I don't know if you've heard that, the one song, Don't Want to Pull the Trigger, where
yes.
the little demo intro where Richard's texting me and goes, okay, here's the song. I can't really play the lead part. And that was Elizabeth, my wife. She heard that. She went, oh my God, that's so cool. Why don't you, it was her idea. She said, why don't you put that as the intro to the song? And I went, okay. I mean, I don't. And so I asked Richard, and he went, oh, well, I guess let's try it. And so let's see if we can meld it into the actual recorded version. The kid who mixed it, his name is Matt Prock, and he mixed and mastered the record. The guy is a young, brilliant kid. He lives in Chicago. He goes, I could do that. And he pulled it off. So, I mean, I'm so proud of it. We were thinking, let's not release it. It's, you know, the music business is shut down. And I thought, no, everybody's sitting around at home quarantined.
Right.
You know, why not put out some new music, something new to listen to?
It's really a strong record, and I'm very impressed with your vocals. You mentioned that Richard Marx is able to get things out of you that no other producer has done, and you've worked with some great producers.
Yeah.
How do you keep your voice strong, the vocal cords, though? Do you practice every day?
No, not really. I don't smoke. I do sing driving around in my car. I sing a lot. You know, it's funny because that's one of the things I really miss about live performances is you get this kind of, or I do, when I sing live, I get this kind of endorphin rush, this kind of dopamine. I guess it's some kind of a chemical reaction in your brain where the dopamine gives you this kind of high, uplifting kind of feeling, this kind of really positive. And I know, and it happens every time I do a show. And I just get this, I just kind of float away. It's so strong. And I really miss that. And sometimes I can, if I'm driving far enough, if I've got like a 2-hour drive or so, if I can sing like a whole record, I get that feeling singing in the car, that kind of dopamine rush feeling. But I've been really lucky with my voice because, Elizabeth and I, my wife, we're doing a book about me. Let's talk about me some more.
Sure. It's your hour.
Book, and we put together, my mother kept all of the reviews and the magazines and everything that ever came out about me and the tubes. And when she passed away in 2005, I went to the house, to clean up, to deal with selling the house, et cetera, et cetera. And I found all these boxes full of, I didn't even know she had done it. And I found like 5 boxes full of old stuff. And as we were going through it all, we found old itineraries. I mean, we used to go out, for like 15 years, we went out in the spring, we went out in March and April, and we toured the entire year. We got in a bus, we never came home. And we did 8 months on the road. And some of those tours were, I'm looking at the itinerary and we're like doing 10 in a row.
God.
I can't even conceive of that today. 10 in a row. Mm-mm. Now I won't even let the booking agent do more than 3. And then in rare cases, 4 in a row is my limit. And
even that's a lot.
And that's a lot, and we're doing a 2-hour show and I'm pretty much singing every song and doing costume changes and running back and forth. But you know what I used to do? I never really had nodes or any kind of a problem with my voice. I used to do acupuncture. When my voice would get strained and I'd start to lose my voice, we'd go into some town and I'd open the phone book and I'd find acupuncturist. And I would go to an acupuncturist during the day while the band would go to sound check at like 2:00. I'd be I'd get a cab and go to the acupuncturist. And the guy, they stick needles right into your throat.
Yeah.
Right into your vocal cords. And then all over in your thumbs and your elbows and your everywhere. And it was a miracle. I would lay there. Sometimes they even connected electrodes. So there would be a little low voltage running through the needle. And I just lay there for like an hour and I'd get up and I'm singing like a bird. So I'm just lucky, I guess. I just had a good, strong voice. My mother was a singer. Maybe that's where I got it. My mother, before she got married, when she was a teenager, she lived in Omaha, Nebraska. She used to sing with big bands. And back then, a big band, she sang with Duke Ellington.
Wow.
Back then, a big band would come to town and they didn't carry a singer a lot of times. And so they would find somebody in town to sing, they did the standards. They did Begin the Begin and, all of those kind of standards. And my mother was the one in Omaha that they called to go sing. So I think that must be where I got it, because we used to when we, she got married and we moved to Scottsdale and we had kids, but we sang all the time. We sit around the house and we sing, and we would buy Broadway musicals and West Side Story. We used to sing West Side Story all the time,
So how did you become lead singer for the Tubes? Because I don't think originally you just showed up and auditioned. Wasn't there something else more to it?
There was. Pretty good story too. Back when we lived in Arizona, I dropped out of school. I was a hippie, and Timothy Leary told me to tune in, turn on, and drop out, and I went, okay, thanks. In my sophomore year of college at Arizona State, I decided, I'm not digging this, and so I dropped out, and a bunch of us hippies moved to a ghost town in northern Arizona called Jerome.
Jerome, yeah. Near Sedona.
Oh, yeah. You know Jerome, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jerome was a mining town, and Phelps Dodge had a copper mine there. And the place used to be full of copper miners, and they built them these little shacks to live in. And then the mine shut down. They chewed up all the copper and they shut it down. All the miners moved away. So there's all these empty shacks on the side of Jerome Mountain. It was Mingus Mountain on the side of the hill. And so all of us hippies just showed up and we just picked a shack and nobody seemed to care. And everybody got their own shack. And so I moved up there and I had my own shack. And that lasted about one summer. And I had no job, no money, no food, no nothing. And I got really sick of that, really tired, really fast. So I went to work for a cowboy. My dad was a riding instructor and a horse show judge. So as a kid, I was on horses my whole life. And me and my brother had our own horses and we went to horse shows and we competed. And so I knew how to ride. And so I went to this cowboy. There was a cowboy in Cottonwood his name was Dave Perkins. And he was kind of a progressive guy. And he hired me to be a cowboy on his ranch. And I had I had hair out to there. That was before they had what they call conditioner.
And scissors.
And he didn't care. He said, if you can ride, if you can do the job. So he hired me and I started working as a cowboy for $50 a week. And they gave me a horse and I would ride the range and hunt for cows. What happened was another guy named Mike Walker also went to work for him, and he fell in love with this girl named Penny Nemi, and they decided to get married on the ranch. And so Mike said, you know any band guys? I want to get a band to come up here and play at my wedding. And I said, well, yeah, I know the Red, White, and Blues Band. And so I called up Roger and I said, you guys want to come up and play for this guy's wedding in Cottonwood? And they went, okay, sure, no problem. So they drove up and they played at the wedding. And this was kind of the early summer of 1969. And Prairie Prince, the drummer of the band, got a scholarship to the San Francisco Art Institute, a full ride, 3-year free scholarship to the Art Institute. He was an artist and he wanted to be an artist, and he's a brilliant artist. He and Elizabeth did my album cover, and the new one. And he did all of the Tubes.
Yeah. I was going to say all the logos and everything.
All those years, Mike Cotton and Prairie did all those. It was because of Prairie. They decided to move from Phoenix to San Francisco in the fall of '69 because he had a scholarship to Art Institute. And when they were up there playing that wedding, they said, we're moving to San Francisco and we need somebody to drive the truck. And they had a.
That's the same thing as a roadie, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about. And they had a big milk delivery truck that they would haul their gear in. So they said, you want to drive our truck to San Francisco and in September? And I went, yeah, I'm good. I'll do that. And so I did. So I left the ranch and I drove the truck to San Francisco and I became the roadie for Roger's band, for the Red, White, and Blues Band. A couple of years later, they decided that the bass player was more interested in smoking hash than rehearsing. And so they fired the bass player. So they still liked to rehearse. So I started singing his parts. He was the lead singer of Red, White, and Blues Band. So I would go to the garage and we would practice, and they were trying to find another bass player and, put an ad in the Haight-Ashbury Free Press for a bass player. And they kept auditioning guys, and they couldn't find anybody that they liked. And I kept singing the songs. And finally, another band from Phoenix, Bill Spooner's band, which was called the Beans, Bill's band moved to San Francisco. And so they were working, and we couldn't work because we didn't have a bass player. And so the managers, we both had, these managers, they were guys that we went to high school with.
Sure.
They were just pretty much,
it's in the early stages.
Right. And they said, well, why don't you guys join the Beans? Why don't you all combine the band, and we'll have 2 lead guitar players, 2 drummers, and we already have a bunch of roadies, so we don't need you. And, I just went, oh, well, okay. And, and Roger, thank God, Roger said, he's a pretty good singer. He could probably sing background vocals. It's not like anybody was getting paid, so it didn't really matter how many guys were in the band. So I said, okay, great. And so I moved up from roadie to background singer. The problem was I sang too loud. They kept saying, you sing too loud. You're a background singer. Okay, you sing too loud. I couldn't reel it in. And finally they said, okay, well, then you sing lead. Then you get up here, and sing lead. Actually, the first song I ever sung was El Paso by Marty Robbins.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Out in the West Texas, out of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. I said, well, I have a good bit. Actually, a thing that I had done in an assembly in grammar school where I would pretend to get shot in the chest.
God.
fall out on my back. And I said, I could do that. And then I'm going to get a Ziploc bag of stage blood and put it under my shirt. And when the gun goes off in the song, the guy gets shot in the song, I'm going to slap my chest and the blood's going to squirt all over the place. And that was the first bit, the first bit. I don't know, hate to call it a bit, but that was my first theatrical performance.
Yes.
I squirted blood all over the front row. And that was it. They loved it. They loved it. They thought, oh, my God.
Did the audience love it?
Yeah, the audience loved it. They went, oh, this is so weird. And so that's when we started doing theatrics, and we went from there to, I used to do Carmen Miranda. And I'd sing Brazil, which was her song, in Portuguese.
Wow.
But during the song, I would eat the fruit. And so we just started doing theater, and changing costumes. And then we met Kenny Ortega. Kenny Ortega was just a kid that was touring with Jesus Christ Superstar as a dancer, as a choral dancer. He saw us and he goes, I want to be a choreographer. Let me help you put some theatrical choreography together. So then we hired the dancing, we hired the Leela and the Snakes, and then the whole thing just kind of took off from there.
Were you the Tubes at that time, or?
We weren't. We actually were the Beans at the time, but another band came out and the album was called Beans. Not the Beans, just Beans. So we had to change our name. We all sat around. We said, well, okay, let's try and think of a bunch of names. And we had Larry and Mary and the Gas Men. And each guy was supposed to come up with 10 names. And so Mike Cotton, one of the names he suggested, or maybe it was Prairie, I can't remember, was Tubes, Rods, and Bulbs. Tubes, rods, and bulbs. And those are different kinds of cells of the eyeball.
Oh.
And so we couldn't decide what to do. They said, well, okay, we're going to put them all in a hat. And we're going to pick one out of a hat. And that's going to be the name. And Prairie's put Tubes, Rods, and Bulbs on his piece of paper. And then we said, we're going to let the dog pick it out. We had a dog named Sandwich. That was Prairie's dog. His name was Sandwich. And Prairie put mayonnaise on his slip of paper that said Tubes, Rods, and Bulbs. And Sandwich picked that out. And then we thought, well, Tubes, Rods, and Bulbs, they'll end up shortening that to TRB or something, and it's too kind of a tongue twister. So we just got rid of rods and bulbs and just said tubes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's some great stuff.
And so out of all your drama that you guys used to put on amazing stage shows that were, I believe I read somewhere there was up to 50 people on stage at one time. But my question is, where did Quay Lewd, your alter ego, your British alter ego, come from?
Quay Lewd, I wanted to do a character of like the kind of David Bowie, Rod Stewart, British kind of sexy rock star guy that was too loaded and, was kind of either on alcohol or drugs or something. Or
both.
Yeah.
And then some.
originally the name was Rod Planet. That was Quay Lewd's original name, Rod Planet, which was kind of Robert Plant and Rod Stewart combined somehow. You used to always say, I'm Rod Planet and I'm going to plant it where you want it. But what happened was we did a gig in San Francisco on Broadway at a little club, and I can't remember what it was called. It was maybe the Boarding House, or it was a place right on Columbus, a tiny little club that was painted black. And we opened for the New York Dolls. Okay.
Wow.
David Johansen and the New York Dolls. And we were the opening act. So in the afternoon, we showed up for the sound check. So we were going to do our sound check first, and then the New York Dolls got to do their sound check. And so we did ours, and then they come walking in for their sound check, and they are in full glam mode. I mean, they had makeup on, they had big hair, they were wearing women's clothing, they had big platform shoes. And I mean, big was, back then big was like a 2-inch platform. And we were, and here we were, the local band, and we're just going, man, oh man, are you kidding me? And, we thought it was interesting that they were living this glam life. Johnny Thunder had his hair all ratted up in the back, and they looked like they were ready to go on stage. And so, I was kind of irked. And I thought, oh my God, these big platforms, how ridiculous to be wearing these big platforms on the street. These are your street shoes. I could see it on the stage, and so I wanted to, take the piss out of them, which, you know what that means, right?
Oh yeah.
So, and the boots that Rod Planet wore were just big, like thigh high, regular boots that didn't have any platform on them at all. So I said, well, I'm going to make bigger platforms than they are. And so I went out and I bought 4 cans of tomato juice. Those, when they used to come in like a gallon can, this big and about this big around.
Yeah.
They were a gallon tomato juice can. And they were like ribbed. You remember they had ribs on them. I bought these 4 tomato juice cans. I poured out the tomato juice and I gaffer taped them to the bottom of the shoes I was wearing.
Wow.
So that made them about 10 inches high.
And you're already about 6'2", aren't you?
I'm like 6'4", yeah.
Okay.
So I gaffer taped these cans to the bottom of my shoes and spray paint them. And then before we went on that night, somebody gave me a Quay Lewd.
Oh, yeah.
I had never taken Quay Lewd before. I had no idea what was going to happen. And I took it before we went on. And I went out there and I was just gone. I don't remember anything. I don't know how I got through a set remembering the lyrics to the song. But I mean, we were doing White Punks on Dope back then, I remember. And
so it fit in perfectly.
Yeah. And so not only was I reeling on Quay Lewd's and staggering, which was perfect character.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much Quay Lewd can do whatever he wants. And it's all in character. If he falls down on the stage, he's in character. If he drinks a beer too fast and pukes on the front row, that's total character. That all works.
Wait, did that happen?
Oh, I used to do it every night.
Puke?
I used to do it as fast as I could and make myself throw up on the front row.
Oh,
what a treat.
That's really bad. That stomach acid will burn a hole through your esophagus. And
God.
So I kind of had to stop doing that. But
good thinking.
But what happened was I went out, and as I'm reeling around, the shoes start to collapse because they're ribbed and there's nothing in them. And I'm flopping all around, and the shoes are collapsing more and more and more. So by the end of the song, the shoes are 10 inches high. The shoes are 2 inches high. And they're completely squashed, accordion down to nothing. And then, and I just kind of went, I think I should change my name to Quay Lewd. And so that was it. From then on, I was Quay Lewd. And I tried. The next night, I bought the tomato juice cans, but I didn't pour the juice out of them.
Oh.
But then they weighed like 15 pounds each. And I was like Frankenstein out there trying to, But the idea was good. So we kept trying and working on the shoes. And I did cork shoes and I did wooden shoes. And even somebody made a pair of fiberglass shoes for me that had aquariums in them. They were hollow and they had water and plastic fish in them.
Poor fish.
But they were way too heavy.
There's nothing worse than seeing a fish on Quay Lewd.
Yeah. I finally got a pair of beetle boots and I put fiberglass on the bottom of them and made a wooden heel. And so that was the final ones that finally worked for me. And that's the ones I still have. I mean, I still wear those. I still do Quay Lewd. I still wear the big shoes, and I don't throw up anymore on the stage.
Thank you. For those of us that have bought the expensive seats, we appreciate the lack of barf in the show.
Well, that Tubes album, I mean, that did something to me. And it might have been the Quay Lewds too, that I was probably taken around the same time too. But that album was so good. That first record. Yeah.
We still, after all these years, we have to do What Do You Want From Life? We have to do Mondo Bondage, and we have to do White Punks on Dope. And we've done that in every show for 45 years.
Yeah.
And, we try to change the show every year or so. We get together and we, try to figure out a new show to do and change up. I mean, you can't change those songs. You got to do them every show. And I try to sometimes change the characters or change the outfit or something, to make it seem different. But they're still in there. That was a great record.
It was a great record, and it started off for a great legacy for the band too. Some great records that you guys did, and that's awesome. I remember seeing you live a couple of times. One of the first shows was somewhere in Hollywood. I don't remember much. And another time it was somewhere in Riverside or San Bernardino. I think I was working at KEZY at the time. And I got to introduce the band and I got to stand outside of the stage and see you change into costumes. And it was like, oh, that's cool. So a little perving. Sorry.
I really enjoy it. I still enjoy it. And it's been really hard to not be able to do gigs, and I'm sure every band guy feels just like I feel. When Richard and I were doing this record, and for years he said this to me, after radio is not happening anymore and record companies are not happening anymore, and you don't really make any money selling records. Streaming pays you very little bit unless you're selling billions of streams.
Even then, it's like 0.0009 cents per stream or something. And so it's all about live music, and, when Richard and I, like when we were making this record, sometimes I get depressed and I ask myself, why am I still doing this? Why don't I get a day job? And I said, Richard, why are we doing this? And he goes, because it's what we do. Okay? It's that simple. You don't need another reason. This is what you do. Feeling the joy of performing and feeling the joy and seeing the joy in their eyes as you perform. That's why you've got to have hope and you've got to have faith and you've got to know that this is going to pass and that you're going to be back on the stage again, and don't despair. And that's what I try to tell my friends who are just going, man, this sucks so bad, man. I'm quitting. No, it's going to be, they're going to find a vaccine. They're going to make, 5 billion doses, and everybody on the planet is going to take it and it'll be done. Okay. I'm trying to stay positive, and that's why, I'm really thrilled to be able to release new music, and I've gotten such great response from people and from, the last time I did a solo record was 1996, and there was no social media then. There was no Instagram with people going, wow, this is really great. And no, I never got any of that. And so it's really been fulfilling, and kind of sustained me
through these last 6 months or so of the great response that I'm getting.
Well, it is a great album, and congratulations on it. I've seen it streaming. Is there anywhere besides your site that you can buy it?
I made CDs.
For us old folks that like to hold things on our hands.
It's all right. Hold it. And there's an actual beautiful CD package that Elizabeth put together for me, and Prairie Prince.
And Prairie.
From the Tubes. You can get it at feewaybill.com, and you can also get it at thetubes.com. Both of those sites, and obviously on all the digital sites, Amazon and Apple Music and iTunes, it's all there too for your a digital download. Yes, feewaybill.com, and we'll ship it out to you.
And you can get signed copies.
Yes, and you can get a signed copy if you'd like. There's a lyric book insert that has all of the lyrics to the songs and all of the credits to all of the people that played. There's such great players. Matt Scannell from Vertical Horizon, Mike Landau, one of the greatest slick, we call him, guitar players here in LA. Josh Freese, the drummer from Nine Inch Nails, a couple of guys in Richard's band, Jason and Why Not and Brian on drums. Actually, one of Richard's sons, Brandon, plays drums on the record.
The album just kind of like jumps out at you. It's amazing, and the guitars, and it's just full of power, and bam, like with Faker, and then How Dare You, those two coming out immediately. It's like, oh yeah, rock and roll is back.
Faker
sounds
is
awesome.
Fantastic song.
I had so many great people help me with this.
It shows.
Yeah.
It's some great guitar work in there. It's well mixed. It pops.
Very well produced.
Yeah, well produced. So it's a fantastic album. All right, we're going to take a quick break here for a moment. And first, we want to start with giving our big Patreon supporters a big hug. We thank you very much for being our support system. One of the perks of being a Patreon supporter is that we offer the opportunity for you to submit a question for some of our upcoming guests. And you'll hear that later on. So if you're a rock geek like Rita, right, Reeds? Yeah. Yeah. Like we are, like I am. Please go to the support tab on our website at rockandrollconfessional.rocks or directly to Patreon to make a small pledge. We appreciate it very much for your support. So, Reeds, got a nice little trivia question for us, for the listeners?
I do. What was the Tube's first song to hit #1 on the Billboard charts? Your choices include White Punks on Dope.
Ooh, my favorite.
Me too. She's a Beauty. Talk to You Later, or Sushi Girl.
Oh, Sushi Girl. That's a good one too, though. Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, good. All
right.
We start off the second half with a question from one of our Patreon listeners regarding the Rocky Horror Show. Now get ready for the second half of the interview with the Tube's lead singer, Fee Waybill.
We have what we call the bonus round at the end, but there's a few more questions we have for you before we get to that. And by the way, you're one of the few during COVID that's actually could receive a prize if you answer the questions correctly. But we're not there yet.
It's a good prize. Oh,
and it's a really good prize.
Really good.
I mean, it's not like any Quay Lewds or anything, but it's a good prize.
Okay.
Once again, it proves that in literature and music and lyrics that a muse is a strong proponent of great lyrics and of inspiration. And again, it seems like love has a lot to do with this particular album.
Yeah, it's all about her.
You have an interesting story about your wife and, I
do. We met on separate vacations. I was on a vacation with my good friend, Rick Thomas. Rick grew up in Belize, an American in Belize, and his father had a coconut plantation. And his mother got so sick of Belize back in the years ago, she went, okay, that's it, I'm out of here. And she moved back to New York and took the kids with her. And Rick never went back. And back in 1991, he said, and we were both really interested in Mayan history and Mayan culture. And that's why there's a big pyramid on the record. And Rick was really interested in it. And he said, let's go on vacation and let's go to Belize and we'll look at Mayan pyramids. But I also want to try to track down my father. that I haven't talked to in 20 years and see whatever happened to him. So I said, okay, great. So Rick and I went to Belize. We went to the Chamber of Commerce and went to the library and went all over in downtown Belize City trying to find any record of his father. We couldn't. We planned the trip around a solar eclipse, which was supposed to happen on July 11th, 7/11/91. There was going to be a solar eclipse, and the last one in some whatever 100 years or something. And so the whole trip was kind of planned around being at the pyramid on the solar eclipse. We showed up, and out of the jungle walks a couple, Elizabeth and this friend of hers named Randy. They come walking out of the jungle that morning, and Randy walks up to me and goes, "You're Fee Waybill from the Tubes." And I went, "What?"
Wow.
He goes, "Oh, man, you're so cool. I've seen you." And Elizabeth had no idea who the Tubes were. So we spent the day together, and I was smitten in a heartbeat. And I went, "Oh, my God, this girl is gorgeous." I flipped out. And it was funny because the entire day I was hitting on his date. I kept kind of trying to come around over here. Let's talk on the other side of the pyramid, and he kept catching us. And he had a video camera with him, one of those great big video cameras that are like this big. And he's got a video and he's videotaping the day. So we spent the day together walking all around Tikal. The eclipse was supposed to happen at 2:45. And at about 1 o'clock, the whole sky clouds over and monsoon rain happens.
Oh, no.
And the whole thing is pitch black. So when 2:45 rolls around, we climb up to the highest pyramid, and we're sitting on there, and it's just pouring rain. The eclipse comes and goes. Nothing, you can't see the sun. It's pitch black. And Rick and I, we're going to drive back east to Belize where we were staying. And Randy and Elizabeth are taking a bus. I'm thinking in my head, how am I going to connect with this girl? We both lived in Santa Monica. I didn't want to say, "Hey, dude, what's your girlfriend's phone number?" So I said, "Well, Randy, I'd love to get a copy of this video, when I get back, because it was such a great day and blah, blah, blah." And he goes, "Oh, sure, no problem. I'll make you a copy." And I said, "Well, how do I reach you?" And he goes, "Well, my name's in the phone book." And I'm thinking in my head all the time, somehow, when I get back to LA, I'm going to get, I'm going to connect with Elizabeth. So we go back home. I'm in Santa Monica. I find his name in the phone book. I call him up. I go, "Randy, can I get a copy of the videotape?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, sure." And I said, "Oh, by the way, how's it going with you and Liz? What's happening?" He goes, "Oh, nothing. Nothing." He gives me no information whatsoever. Nothing. Sorry. And so I went, "Oh, okay, well, whatever." He said, "I'll make you a copy. Come on over and get it." So he makes me a copy. I go to his house in Santa Monica and get the copy. And I said, "Well, so what's happening with you and Liz?" He goes, "Oh, nothing. We're broke up." "Really?" And so he goes, "Yeah." And he's like, won't give me any information whatsoever. Won't say anything. I don't even know her last name at this point, other than it's Liz. And he's pissed off. I can tell that it didn't go well.
Not on his end.
So I kind of went, okay, well, I gave up. I figured, well, maybe it's not meant to be. So 8 months go by. I've completely given up all hope by then. 8 months go by. I'm at the Santa Monica Athletic Club working out. Who walks in the front door but Elizabeth? And she sees me across the room, and she walks over to me and goes, "Hi, remember me?"
Wow.
And I just kind of went, oh my God. And I went, "Yeah, I remember you. You're Liz." She goes, "Yeah, remember we met and you were so nice. We were in Belize." And and so I said, "Can I have your digits? Can I get your phone number?" So I got her phone number and we started going out. That was 92. We started going out, and then we moved in together, and then we got married in 1997. Then we got divorced in 2000, pretty much because I sat around smoking pot all day long. I was growing pot back in I guess I can say that now because it's legal. But so we got divorced, and then I couldn't deal, and I used to sit around and we got back together again, and then we broke up again. And then we got back together again, and then we broke up again. And then we broke up for good kind of in 2008. I was living in Venice, and I would stay up late at night and write poems to her. I have a book of poetry also. And I write poems, and I write poems, and I write poems. And finally I got a friend of mine together, and I made a book of poems, and which you can also get on the website. And I sent it to her, and she went, "Oh my God." We got back together, and some of the songs on the record I wrote while we were apart, like Maybe I Was Meant to Be Alone.
You can feel that in some of those songs.
Yeah.
It's kind of a Lonesome Cowboys album, and most of them, not Faker really, but How Dare You, and Maybe I Was Meant to Be Alone, and Woulda, Coulda, Shoulda were all about her. So the end of the story is we got back together in about 2015 or something. And then I asked her to marry me for a second time. And she said, okay. And so then on July 11th, 28 years later, we got remarried.
Wow. Okay.
Last July 11th was our first anniversary of the second time around. So I'm so fortunate and so happy with her.
That's awesome. And so you're writing new music for the Tubes, I hear also.
Yes, the Tubes are working on songs, and Roger just sent me a tune the other day. We have 3 or 4 in the can.
Great.
And I just wrote another one, and I'm working on a 5th one, and I'm working on a 6th one right now that he just sent. So yeah, and that'll be, I figure by like 2035.
Quay Lewd's going to be a little grayer in the hair.
Quay Lewd he'll have a walker with stilts, a walker on stilts.
On giant tomato cans.
I can see it. That's great.
Okay, Fee, we've got a Patreon question from one of our listeners. Elizabeth W. wants to know how you came to play the part of Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Show.
Oh, well, that's a good story. There's a theater in Michigan called the Barn Theater. An actor named Brendan Ragazzi, his name is Brendan Ragazzi. His father started this theater years ago, back in the 40s. And he was a Hollywood actor. And he and his wife decided to move back to their hometown, Augusta, Michigan, and start a little theater. And so they got a milk barn and turned it into a theater. And they gutted it, and they made wings, and it's about a 600 or 700 seater. It's called the Barn. So Brendan went to San Jose State, and he was in college in the early 80s and used to be a Tubes fan. And we used to play San Jose State, and we used to play gigs in San Jose all the time. And Brendan used to see us there. In 1998, he had moved back to Kalamazoo. He kind of took over the theater. His father was getting older, and he took over the Barn Theater and became the director of the Barn Theater. So every summer, they would do 6 or 8 plays. Every once in a while, they'd have a Hollywood actor or a Broadway actor come and guest star. They had been doing Rocky Horror a number of times. And the guy, Sal, his name was, I can't remember his last name. Sal used to be the guy every year who would play Frankenfurter. By the way, that's my dream, Broadway. Okay, just so you know.
Yeah.
Broadway.
We'll work on that.
I'm going to be on Broadway.
Okay.
I know Broadway is closed too.
What are you gonna play?
I want to play the King of England in Hamilton.
Can you rap?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen it?
Rita's seen it about 20 times.
Yeah, no, I love it. So, so it's very British pop kind of songs.
Right. You'll be back.
You'll be back.
You'll be back.
You'll be back.
Right.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Oh, my God. I mean, I would do anything, but to be on Broadway, but anyway, Sal got fat. And Sal couldn't fit into the bustier that Frank wore anymore.
Yeah.
and Sal doesn't want to do it, and Sal can't fit into the costume anymore. And so Brendan's going, oh my God, we need the money to, because they just barely scrape by every year. So he's telling a friend of his, he says, there's this band from San Francisco I saw when I was in college, and this lead singer guy, Fee Waybill, he would be so perfect for Frankenfurter, but I don't know how to get a hold of him. This was before the internet, this was at 98. So he's telling this guy who's a sound man who does the sound for the theater there. I'm in LA. I don't know anything about any of this. And so I'm at the dog park. This other guy who is a cameraman from Michigan, who is out there doing commercials, he is a Tubes fan, and he's walking his dog, and he sees me, and he goes, oh, you're Fee from the Tubes. And I went, oh, yeah. So we walked our dog together. That night, he's a friend of Jim's, who's the sound guy from the Barn Theater, and he calls Jim on the phone and he goes, I'm out here in LA and I was walking my dog with Fee Waybill. Do you believe that? And Jim goes, no way. He goes, Brendan just asked me about how to get hold of Fee Waybill.
Wow.
And he goes, really?
Small world.
So he gave Randy his phone number, Jim's phone number. And he said, when you see him at the dog park, give him my number. Tell him Brendan is trying to reach him to do Rocky Horror. And the next day I see the guy, he gives me the number. I went, really? I want to do that. I want to do that. I saw Tim Curry is like I love Tim Curry. We saw Rocky Horror Show on Sunset Boulevard at the Roxy in 1975 or something. I mean, when it first came out, before the movie, before Broadway, before everything, I saw it at the Roxy Theater. And
wow.
You and my wife.
So I call Brendan. Brendan goes, I want you to come and do Rocky Horror. I went, I'm there. Send me the script. And so I didn't audition. I didn't do shit. I just said, he sent me the script. I learned the songs. I went out there, and that was the first time I did Rocky Horror. And then I've done it since then. Gosh, I haven't done it in a couple of years. I must have done it over 100 times.
Wow. And
then, speaking of Tim Curry, a few years ago, they wanted to do Spamalot. The Monty Python
loved it
musical. Spamalot, Tim Curry was King Arthur. So I played King Arthur in Spamalot. That is probably the greatest musical comedy I have ever done.
I agree.
So much fun. The thing about Rocky, it gets really frustrating because the people who really know it and come to see it again and again and again, they know, there's a whole audience script.
Oh, yeah.
Where I say Brad Majors and they say asshole, and Janet slut. They have a whole script. And people who've seen it many, many times, they compete with each other to scream out their line before the other guy does in the audience. And it gets to be where it gets so frustrating because they scream out their line before I finish saying the line, before I say asshole, and I don't even get Majors out. And it just happens again and again and again. And as the play goes on, it gets worse and worse and worse until you say one word of the line and they're screaming the reply. Oh, and I'm just going, oh, please. And it's all you can do to not stop. Finally, not the last time I did it, but a few times before, I lost it. And I never do that.
Did you throw up on the audience?
I broke the fourth wall. They're screaming, and finally I just stepped out. I stepped to the edge of the stage. I broke character, and I went, really? Really? You have to do this? And then I just turned around and went back, and I was Frank again. But, oh, man, it's so frustrating. Oh.
Did you ever meet Tim Curry?
I never did. I never met Tim Curry. I met Eric Idle, pretty much wrote Spamalot. I've met him a couple of times. Drew Carey is a friend of mine. And Drew every year has a party at the end of The Price is Right at the end of their season. And he has a party. He lives up on Mulholland, and Eric Idle lives next door to him.
Wow.
And so Eric Idle goes to the parties, and, a couple of times I said, you're so great, man. I think you're just a genius. And I'm like gushing, to Eric Idle. And he's going, yeah, right then. Oh, bloody hell, I need another drink. And I just, okay. Okay, but have you heard of the video he did called What About Dick?
No.
I haven't.
What About Dick is a video that Eric Idle did.
I know the Ruddles.
No, What About Dick? It's like a radio play. It's like doing a play on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
It's got so many great people in it. And it's like it's got so many double entendres. Dick is his piano. And he says, like, I love to play with my dick.
Dick.
And it's got Russell Brand in it. It's got Eddie
Izzard
in it. It's got so many great people. There's a cast of about 10, and they all, they're sitting on a couch until it's their line, and they get up and there's microphones there, and they got a guy doing sound effects, classic.
So, Fee, we have a bonus round. It's kind of like the end of a game show where we're just going to ask you really quick questions, and it's real easy, and you can lie if you feel like it because we don't know the real answers.
Oh.
But let's just start with one. What was your first concert you went to?
Oh, my first concert was Jethro Tull at a little club in Phoenix, Arizona. Tiny club. Nobody came. Nobody knew who they were. Actually, about 4 or 5 years ago, we opened for them at a festival in Germany. They kicked us off the stage.
Ooh, the band? Jethro Tull did?
See Ian Anderson play and do the float and the one-legged thing, and they went, sorry, they won't allow anybody on stage. I went, yeah, we were the opening act. No, sorry, they kicked us off the stage. But that was my first concert.
What was your first album that you bought?
Gosh, I know it kind of sounds incongruous, but it was Fats Domino, Blueberry Hill.
Okay.
I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill. Fats Domino. I love Fats Domino. I don't know why. And when I was in college, I lived with a bunch of guys in Tempe who went to Arizona State University. And we used to go to LA to see rock and roll concerts. And we went to LA to see a band called The Knack. But it wasn't The Knack. It wasn't My Sharona Knack. It was The Knack before My Sharona. And they had a hit called Pretty Daisy, which was like an AM radio hit. This had to be 67. Okay. I saw this record in a record store called Are You Experienced?
Ooh, yeah.
And I had never heard of Jimi Hendrix. I got the record and I brought it. I took it home and I played. I mean, that's what sent me over the edge on guitar driven, Jimi Hendrix. I saw Jimi Hendrix about 5 times. I mean, the guy was brilliant. And he actually played at Arizona State University. And I took the record, Are You Experienced? I took it. I was so enamored and so over the top about that record. I took it to the local AM radio. This was before FM. This is to the local. There was a radio station called KRIZ, Kriz Radio in Phoenix. And the DJ's name was Tony Evans. And I took it there. And back then you could just walk right in, it's no big deal. And I walked right in and I went and I gave him the record. I said, Tony, this is the greatest record I ever heard. It's Jimi Hendrix. And he had never heard of Jimi Hendrix. And this was way before Purple Haze became a big hit. I said, man, you got to play this. But anyway, sorry, I digress.
Did he? He
did, yes.
Wow.
He started playing it in Phoenix. I saw Jimi Hendrix in Phoenix open for the Monkees.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Yeah.
That's incredible.
At the Coliseum, he opened for the Monkees. And I saw him in Sacramento, and I saw him at the Arizona State, and I saw him, I saw him 5 times. I saw Jimi Hendrix 5 times.
Wow.
It was stunning.
That's amazing. Who would you want to meet that you've never met?
Well, gosh, I know I'm going to meet Tim Curry, but I would have to say Barack Obama.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, or Joe. There's a good article in the New Yorker about Joe Biden, and I think people should read it. It's really good, and it kind of gives his whole history and the good things and the bad things and everything. It's really good. I think this is a crucial time in our history, seriously crucial. You vote for whoever you want to vote for as long as you vote. I think it's a good thing for you to get some background information and a good thing to read.
You got a birthday coming up next week. So what would Fee Waybill, celebrating his birthday next week, say to his 18-year-old self?
Other than don't do Quay Lewds.
Don't even imagine that once you turn 30, you can't rock and roll, because it ain't true. It ain't true. Because I know I thought that back then. I went, oh, those guys are old at 30. Well, oh, and what is Mick now? What is Mick Jagger, 76 or 70?
Yeah.
76, I think, yeah.
And the guy is, I mean...
but that's what Keith Richards always said. It's like, how can you keep on playing? He goes, my heroes are all these old blues guys that live to be like 90. What are you talking about,
Yeah. I mean, that guy's brilliant. I mean, they're brilliant.
Yeah.
And Paul McCartney is brilliant. I mean... Oh, yeah. That's what I'd say. Don't even think about that. Don't even think about the end of rock and roll, because you can play your whole life.
Love it.
Fee, what was your biggest or worst Spinal Tap moment? What was the craziest thing that ever happened on tour, on stage, with you and the band?
Oh, God, there's a lot of those.
Yeah, it's like, which one?
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'll give you the non-drug related one. Well, two of them actually.
Okay.
Early on, and I told you before that I never did drugs. I was a pot smoker. I never did cocaine. But one show, we were playing Winterland, and we had this bit where I keep saying bit. I shouldn't ever. I got so upset, and this is. Yeah. Anyway, there was a movie, a Danny Kaye movie, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but there was a silver dome platter thing, like you take the top off of it, and it was, and in the movie, instead of a big turkey being under the chrome dome, it was Danny Kaye's head. And so we stole that bit. And we used to open a show with a song called Lunch Face. It's actually never been, it's on one of the Archive Tubes records. And the bit was, the band would do an overture, and then we had this big table full of food. And on the table was a big chrome dome. And I would sneak out in the dark before, and a hole cut in it. I would sneak out before and stick my head up in the dome. And so when the band would finish the overture, and then Bill would go over and pull the dome off, and I'd start singing this song, Lunch Face. And as I'm singing, I'm trying to eat the food that's piled all around me. The carrots and the I try to eat the food and sing the song and kind of spew food out all over the place. Well, right before, oh gosh, this is kind of a confession. It is Rock and Roll Confessions, right?
That's right.
Rock and Roll Confessional.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, right before the show starts, there's some guy backstage who's the local coke dealer guy. And everybody's doing a hit of this Merck pharmaceutical cocaine.
Jeez.
And he goes, "Oh, come on, Fee, come on." And no, I'm okay. No, come on. And so, okay. And I do a big hit of this cocaine. And, and it's about, and this is like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 minutes before the show starts. And I get really high on cocaine. But what happens is it drains down the back of your throat.
Yes.
And my vocal cords went numb.
Oh, God.
And so I crawl out. I'm sitting there underneath the dome. They're playing the song, and I'm going, I can't feel my voice. And when it comes to time to singing the song, he pulls the dome off the thing, and I go, oh, what? I'm completely screwed. And
sorry.
I still have nightmares about it.
We're laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah.
It was the worst show I ever did. I couldn't sing for pretty much the entire show. And here we're playing Winterland.
Oh, that's your hometown, basically.
Our hometown.
Yeah.
And the place is full of people. And I'm completely voiceless. Oh my God. And by the time we get to the big finale, White Punks on Dope, I'm going, White Punks on. I have no voice. It's completely gone. I mean, it was so embarrassing. So totally embarrassing. That was the last time. I never did it again. As long as I live. Since 74. I said, I will never do this shit again. And that was always my crusade. Guys, don't do it. Stop. No, don't. Let's wait till after the show. Don't do it now. I fought and fought and fought for the next 15 years against it. And
crazy.
I shouldn't have told you that story. My wife's going to freak out when she.
You want me to take it out?
Well, I mean, it's the truth. I
respect you. So you tell me if you don't want it in, then I will edit it out.
I don't know. It's true. And I mean, maybe it'll
inspire people not to do it.
Well, to do it. It was a nightmare for me. The other thing I was going to say was in 1978, we're in England and we're about to kick off a 65 show tour of Europe. We're planning to record the live album at Hammersmith Odeon.
Yeah.
It was in May of 78. And we're doing some warm-up shows before we get to London. I think London was about the 7th or 8th show. So we're doing other shows around the UK. And we were in a town called Leicester, England. We're playing a big theater. I used to do a song, well, we still do, but we were doing a song called I Was a Punk Before You Were a Punk, and which was on the record.
Yep.
I used to have a chainsaw. Back in the old days, you could actually have a chainsaw with gas in it, gas combustion engine, and I would we took the blade off, so I'm not going to cut my leg off, but you could start
not
the chainsaw.
Intentionally.
Right. You could start the chainsaw and it would smoke and make a ton of noise, and I would rev it up and I'm swinging it around like the guy in Leatherface, the guy in
Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Right, Chainsaw Massacre. And which was the inspiration for that. Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface, one of my favorites. So I'm swinging it around like a wild man, and I've got these, and it's a punk number, right? So I've got Beetle boots on, and I'm all dressed in black, and I got my hair greased back like a punk, and I've got these really dark punk glasses on. I'm swinging it around, and the bit was, and I actually did it at the Roxy too. I'd jump off the stage and I'd run down the middle aisle of the theater, swinging this chainsaw around my head and smoking, and people were freaking out because, they didn't realize they didn't have a chain on it. And because you can't see it when it's
Sure.
run, right? And actually, I did it at the Roxy Theater, and Clive Davis was in the audience.
Oh, geez.
This table with the chainsaw, and I just chainsawed all the drinks off the table. They never did sign us.
Don't forget, tip your waitress.
Yeah, really. And so what happened was, I'm getting ready to jump off the stage for the instrumental portion of the song, and I slip off the edge. And the stage is about maybe 5 feet high, maybe higher. I slip off the front with my left leg, but my right leg is on the stage, and it twists so quickly that I spiral fracture my fibula, the outside bone on your lower leg. And I hit the deck on my back, and I felt it pop. And I didn't feel any pain. I remember it was just numb. I couldn't feel anything. And I'm laying there going, oh my God. And I'm just my whole world is reeling through my head, and I'm thinking the tour's fucked. The album, the recording of the live album, that's done. We're done. The whole thing is off. and I'm laying there, and the chainsaw is still running. And everybody in the audience thinks it's part of the show.
And the band is still playing.
Oh, God.
The band is still playing. The band thinks it's part of the show. The band is still playing. The chainsaw is still running. The audience is still sitting there. And I'm laying there going, oh, my God. Oh, my God. And
that must have been the longest 10 seconds of your life.
And nobody comes to get me. I'm there. Nobody comes out and goes, oh, you okay? And so I have to get up.
Oh.
And I have to get on my knees and get up, and with the chainsaw still running, and I kind of put the weight down on my leg, and it's just like there's nothing. But my leg is just dropping, it's starting to swell. I can't feel anything. And so I have, and still nobody comes, and I have to hop on one leg with the chainsaw over to the side of the stage, and then round to backstage. And our road manager was there, Bernie. He goes, what are you doing? Bernie, I broke my leg. He goes, what? I said, yeah, I broke my leg. And he goes, oh my God. And so I leave. It wasn't compound fracture. It wasn't like the bone was sticking through the skin. Ugh. But the band is still playing. I'm not coming back to sing the end of the song. And Bernie kind of tells one of the roadies, he broke his leg, just continue without him. And they immediately take me to the hospital. It's funny because later on, they figure, okay, well, the show's over. So let's go to White Punks on Dope right now, which is the ending song. So they take Quay Lewd's empty boots, and they put them in front of the mic stand. And they tell the audience, he broke his leg. He's not coming back. And they play White Punks on Dope, and that's the end of the show.
Oh, my God.
So then I go to the hospital. The doctor, and I still don't understand this. The doctor looks at it, and he goes, and they x-ray it, and they go, well, you've spiral fractured your leg, and you really should have surgery and put the bone, put screws in it to fix it properly. I went, yeah, okay. But we're not going to do that because you're not an English citizen and you don't have social medicine, and we're not spending the money on you. And so they say, well, we're going to kind of manipulate it manually back into pretty close to place, and we're going to slap a cast on it.
So bite on this stick.
Yeah. And they said, well, you'll probably have 60 or 70% of your leg when it heals up. And I'm just going, what? Are you kidding me? And they said, oh yeah, by the way, you have to keep your leg elevated above your heart for 10 days.
Oh.
Or else it'll start to swell and it'll bust the cast. And I'm going, oh, great. Oh, that's really great. And so, the manager is there, and they immediately, next day, tour canceled, Hammersmith Odeon canceled, everything canceled. They put the band on planes, fly them back to LA. But no, you have to stay for 10 days and keep your leg elevated above your heart. Oh, so I stayed in, the promoter had a little house in England there, and I stayed at the guy's house, all day long with my foot above my head like this, watching English TV. And there was only 3 channels,
Right.
Watch. I look
how to make cheese.
Yeah.
Appreciate quarantine now, don't you?
Yeah, really.
Did you have surgery on that when you got back, or?
Oh, I never did. I never had surgery on it. It's never been fixed. It never healed properly, but I worked out and I rehabbed it, and I can't tell the difference today. I mean, there's no difference. He said 60%. There's no way. I'm just as strong on that leg as the other leg. And
that's good.
We ended up rescheduling the whole thing and going back in September of that year and doing all those dates that were canceled and doing the live album, What Do You Want From Live. We still did it at Hammersmith Odeon. September of 78.
Okay.
Wow. That's a showstopper.
Yeah, literally.
Literally, yes.
So congratulations, Fee. You win the prize, and I'm going to build up to what the prize is. But in one of your songs, What Do You Want From Life, you talk about Paul Williams. You remember the line?
A dream date in knee pads with Paul Williams.
So you're going to get this autographed picture that says, Fee, knee pads, ? We're laying tile.
And that's Paul Williams. So,
And that's from Phantom of the Paradise.
oh, it's from Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah, the picture's from Phantom of the Paradise. And that's going to come to you.
Oh, wow. That's so great.
So now you can put it on your wall of fame or shame, whatever you want.
Wow.
Yeah.
But we interviewed him a few months ago, and I'm like, I know I'm going to get Fee, so you got to sign something to Fee.
Oh, wow.
That's
So-
pretty awesome.
Oh, Paul.
There you go.
Phantom of the Paradise, wasn't Garrett Graham in that movie?
Yes.
He played Beef, right?
Yeah, played Beef.
Garrett was a good friend of mine. I remember Garrett. I think he. I don't know whatever happened to him. He moved back east because he had to take care of his mother, I think, or something. And I don't think he ever got back to acting. I don't know.
Crazy
Wow,
times.
that's so cool. Thank you so much. That's so cool.
Yay.
Thank you for your time, Fee. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Oh,
Can't wait for the book, man. That's going to be awesome.
we've been working on it for a couple years now, and it's going to be like a big
Coffee table?
a giant book. Yeah, it's going to be cool.
That's excellent.
It's called Fee Waybill's Guide to an Unknown Trail. That's what it's called.
That's great. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on this album, Fee
Yeah.
Waybill Rides Again. It's really a strong album, and congratulations. Can't wait to see it live.
Thank you for having me. It's really, and I guess, you can use that story, the lunch face story. I mean, what the hell, Like I said, maybe it'll inspire somebody to get their life together. Who knows?
All right,
Okay,
Fee.
thanks again.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it. Take care. All right, Reeds. Well, there we go. A fun day with Fee.
It was a wonderful day, and it's nice to see you weren't geeking out too much when we did the interview, but now I see you're geeking.
Okay.
But you were like the Tubes freak. It was like always whenever like I'd be doing a radio show and have a conversation, play some Tubes, Rita. Play some Tubes. Play some Tubes.
I did. I used to call Rita every time she'd have request time on the radio. I'd call her and I'd go, Rita, play White Punks on Dope. And what'd you say?
No, I can't play that because my folks are so fucking rich.
Right.
I didn't have the standard one. So I can probably play something safe,
No, I wanted White Punks on Dope.
I know.
So off to the side when we were doing the interview, I felt like, what's his name? Is it James Lipton? Is that the one that used to do Inside the Actors Studio? And I had this pile of shit just stacked. All right, I don't want to admit it, but I have files with like clippings and things like that I've saved. Kind of like what he talked about with his mom, saving all this shit. And so I had these files, and then I had the albums I had, and in case I needed reference, So anyway, yeah, I did geek out.
We never saw that stack. We only saw the
Because I
license.
tried to hide it and not look like a complete dork.
No, he doesn't know about it unless he's listening now.
He'll
And if he-
listen, and now I've just admitted to everybody that I'm a complete Tubes dork. So whatever, life goes on, and it could be worse, right?
Indeed. Our thanks to Fee for just being so awesome, being so genuine, for taking time out of his schedule to chat. I really like his record lot. Fee Waybill Rides Again.
Also, a special thank you to Tom Berger at Wolfson Entertainment, who set up the interview for us. And you can purchase Fee Waybill's new CD, Fee Waybill Rides Again, via the feewaybill.com, via the feewaybill.com, or the tubesgroup.com. Or go to our website to find links where you can order an autograph copy. And again, as Rita said, it's a really good album.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you can go to our website to check out show notes. CW does a terrific job. I don't know how he did that when he was geeking and writing down show notes, but he did it. And there you can find interesting tidbits that were talked about, including cool videos like Fee and Cher singing Mondo Bondage along with much more interesting stuff. Find the show notes at rockandrollconfessional.rocks.
Follow Fee or the Tubes at Facebook, The Tubes, Instagram, The Fee Waybill, Waybill, or The Tubes Group, and Twitter at The Tubes Group.
This just in. This just in. Woo.
So we are now on Amazon Music, iTunes, Spotify, and more. Wherever you listen, please rate, subscribe, and write a quick review. It only takes a couple of little old minutes. All right, Reeds. Now, I know the answer because I'm a geek, as we've already established, or a dork. But give us the question again and give us the answer.
What was the Tube's first song to hit #1 on the Billboard charts?
Brrr.
Answer.
Yes.
She's a Beauty hit #1 in 1983.
See, I would have thought Talk to You Later would have been it, because I thought that was such a big hit, but I guess it never hit #1.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I'm all about White Punks on Dope in that first album. I just absolutely love that.
Mondo
that
Bondage.
Record. Oh my God, so good.
Yeah.
Please follow, like, and share us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Keep rocking. Keep wearing your mask. Go get your flu shot. Do safe distancing so we can go to concerts again.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff coming up. So stay safe.
Everybody take care. Have a great day. Bye.